could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Blair Abee. He is an author, a poet, and also a president at a consulting group. Hello, Abby. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. So let's start a conversation with diving into your personal journey of becoming the person you are today.
Yes.
So what led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Yes. Started really about 45 years ago when I first moved to the San Francisco area from the East Coast, North Carolina, small town. I grew up in a fairly conventional home, grew up in a Christian church, and San Francisco was a real culture shock for me in a very lovely way. One of the things that I started doing early on was yoga, and I started doing yoga practice at an ashram founded by a fellow by the name of Satchidananda. He's the person who introduced Woodstock back in the day. And that was really fun. It was an opening, if you will, for me into spirituality. And I've been doing yoga and meditation ever since. However, about 6 years ago now, almost 7 years ago, I had a real breakthrough with my meditation practice. And it came as a result of a traumatic experience where I had moved from the East Coast again back to the West Coast to San Diego to take a sizable promotion to an assistant state director position in the program that I was in, consulting program that I was in. And it turned out to be professional hell. I had never had a bad boss. And this person that who was the leader of the San Diego program, I don't know how to describe her other than say she was something of a she was not only a bad leader, she was abusing employees. She was mishandling funds. The program was being run into the ground, almost psychopathic. And the people who were supposed to be overseeing the program, the community college people, were not paying attention. She was a master of smoke and mirrors, so she kept them in the dark. And after a year, I just could not continue to put up with what was going on. So I went to the authorities and let them know what was going on. And they were somewhat shocked, decided to do an investigation. As a result of the investigation, she was fired, but they also fired me as well. They said that I was a troublemaker. And I found out that this happens a lot with people who do whistleblowing, that it exposes the fact that the higher ups in this case were not paying attention, and was embarrassing for them. And as a result, they had to get rid of me. Well, as you can imagine, that was hugely traumatic. I lost my income, I lost my profession, I lost the career trajectory that I was on. And fortunately, I had some resources and I didn't have to go back to work right away. And I started exploring more deeply my meditation practice. I took a deep dive into it. And then began journaling as a therapy. After about 150,000 words or so, I realized that I had some material that was worth putting into writing in book form. And so I began assembling my materials into books. And some 6 years later now, I've written 6 books on the subject of meditation and manifestation and related topics. I have a 7th book coming out this summer on health and wellness. And in the process of doing this journaling, I began to realize that something was happening that was unusual. And the unusual occurrence was making soul contact. I began to have an experience of my higher self, my higher consciousness, my soul, as I wrote. Sometimes I would write and I would go back later on and I would read it and I would think, I said this. This is somehow not my normal 3-dimensional mental, reality. This is something very unusual. And I realized that what was happening was that I was having a contact with my higher self or with my soul, and that my soul had been waiting perhaps lifetimes for that experience, and was providing me with some new understandings and insights that I had never had before. Well, that was exciting and that was fun. And I've been doing that kind of work ever since, in terms of writing the books, doing a twice a month blog post, posting on YouTube, and doing all sorts of things to offer my ideas and my tools. So I see myself as a tool maker, as much as anything. That I develop processes, tools, and so forth that I can share with people, and that's the material that's in the books, as a way of offering people a similar experience. And I think for those people who are on a spiritual path, often they don't have that same experience of soul contact. I think all of us are eternal beings, that we occupy these amazingly complex biomechanical vehicles with a onboard computer that's constantly chattering about how to survive the past, the future, anything but the now, and being in the present time, being in present moment, being in spirit. And so that's the sort of the core of the message that I have to offer, is that we are all eternal beings. We all have a soul element to us. That soul element wants to be involved in our lives. And if we open up to it, that's possible. I know that's a long answer to your question, but
yeah, and that's very interesting to know the experience that you went through and your journey of getting in contact to your higher consciousness. That's how you call it, right? HIC, and your soul. And I want you to elaborate more on, what exactly, how did it take you to get to that point for you to get in contact with the soul? And how did you know that this is the soul and this is the way of you communicating with it and receiving any type of insight or ideas? So how did it feel for you?
Right. Well, it felt great. It felt like a breakthrough. And what I began to experience was times of illumination, where I would be writing or meditating or just doing my day, and I would open up to that part of myself, and it was as if I had come home in a way. My spiritual partner had begun to flow into my life. Spirit was flowing into my life. Spirit was flowing through my fingers onto the keyboard. Spirit was a companion. And I knew it wasn't that I wasn't making this up, because this was a more conscious part of me. This was again, a higher self part of me. This was this introduced me to the notion that we're all eternal beings, and that we're all connected to God or to the all. And the words were just not my words. They weren't things that I had thought before. They were, new insights, new penetrations into that. So it felt really good, and I've developed this relationship ongoing. The beauty of meditation is that it gives you a chance to get quiet enough to be able to hear this still small voice, as it's said to be, that is not your normal three-dimensional human mind chattering on, but that it's something else that's happening. Again, I think it's one of the greatest accomplishments that a human can have in three-dimensional reality, to have that kind of contact with one's own higher self, one's own higher consciousness, which is operating on the fifth dimensional level. It's operating in spirit, if you will. And it's available at all times that I remember to turn to it. So I have a process, for example, that's in my manifestation book called the best possible outcomes process. And in that process, and I'll just kind of take you through it step by step. In the process, I start by saying to myself, which I often say to myself as a way of just, again, remembering to remember, peace, be still, and taking a breath. And then just settling into that experience of presence or communication with higher self. And then I'll proceed by saying, I ask for the best possible outcome of my conversation this morning with Anna, or whatever. I ask for the best possible outcome when it comes to getting a parking place to where I'm going. Ask for the best possible outcome. I don't dictate specifically what I want. I don't say I want a parking place right out in front of the restaurant. I just want the best possible outcome for a parking place. And then pause, take another breath, and I can kind of feel that soul part of me responding, or being available, or being on the field, if you will, that it has engaged and will take me to the best possible outcome for that particular circumstance or instance that's going on. And then I offer a thank you to soul for being involved in my life, and for this moment. So breaking that down a little bit, the important thing is to start by asking for the best possible outcome for everybody involved, related to something, but not a specific formula that my mind wants, a BMW in my driveway tomorrow. But the best possible outcome for my need for transportation. And then allow spirit to be involved, allow spirit to go before and kind of smooth out the path, or bring me the best possible outcome for my personal development, for my growth, for my evolution. and trusting that to be the result, to be the correct result, to be the best result under those particular circumstances, and then thanking spirit for being involved. So it's a simple process. It doesn't take very long, just takes a little, a minute. But it's a good example of my involvement with that partner, eternal partner, if you will, in my life, in this lifetime, at this time, and it's a state of grace, really. It's a state of it's a state, again, of higher consciousness, a state of awareness, or true awareness, if you will, to what is otherwise kind of a drab, in a way, three-dimensional reality.
And that's a process of tuning into, like you say, higher consciousness or your higher self, which is always available for you. It's up to you to make that content. Yes. But also, we are always in the way of, getting those type of results for ourselves. And we think with that conscious mind of ours that we're in control and we can get it, kind of like we push ourselves to do something that we don't feel right for us, for example, and we don't allow ourselves to just be quiet and to hand it over to that spirit to help us, to show us a way, the best possible outcome that could come our way in the ways that we could have done ourselves, really. Sometimes we, find that something comes to us, but in a different, way that we would never make up in our own mind, let's say, like in more intelligent or like it's elegant, simple way of doing it. But with us, trying to make it so hard and push the outcome to come, we're not gonna make it the same as if we would just allow it to come and release that tension and resistance. And like you said, trust in the process. It's a very important piece, because a lot of times we think we're the ones who's supposed to make it done, but again, knowing that we're not just a body, but like we live not in three-dimensional but five-dimensional reality. If we're in contact with that higher self, then we have more possibilities, more opportunities, and a better outcome for us. But we need to find a place of stillness, of peace, and get to that place where it comes, on a more regular basis, so we know how to tune in.
That's right.
These people, always stressed and feeling anxious and always in a state of fear. And they need to develop the practice of quieting their mind. And meditation is it's a very good way to start doing it. And like a daily habit, I would say. How do you suggest people should start, for those who never done it before, but they want to start quieting their mind? What would be the best way for them to start, like, even today? How long should it take for them, or how often they should do it, so and then so they can eventually see the result for themselves?
Yes. Well, the simplest form of meditation is to just pause for a moment, take a deep breath, let it out, and then just experience calming down. I mean, that's the simplest form of meditation that there is. It's not that hard. It's not that. Now, part of the problem is, though, and that's spoken of as being mindfulness meditation, when you're just taking a simple moment to be in the moment, not in the past, not in the future, not trying to, figure everything out, but just taking a moment to pause and be quiet. Now, our three-dimensional mind is uncomfortable with this because in that moment, it's not in control. So it might not in the beginning be very amenable to a meditation practice. And a lot of times meditation training is about mind training and training the mind to be quiet, but the mind doesn't want to be quiet. And so there's this struggle that goes on back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's why I developed the meditation process that I developed as a result of my experience with higher consciousness, which is called higher consciousness meditation. And higher consciousness meditation is a meditation practice that takes you sort of around the mind or bypasses the mind and takes you straight to soul. It takes you straight to an experience of illumination. It takes you straight to soul contact, or it makes that available. Now, I do that twice a day. I do higher consciousness meditation twice a day. It only takes about 3 or 4 minutes. But if I want to, once I've done the basic process, if I want to stay and just enjoy and marinate in that sense of peace, that sense of soul, that contact with soul, I can do that for as long as I wish. But I do it twice a day, in the morning and then in the evening, as a good beginning to the day, as a good end of the day. Now, during the day, I also do mindfulness practices, often using peace be still, or spirit be here, or higher consciousness is flowing into this moment. Little phrases that sort of click me into that sense of awareness, that take me out of three-dimensional reality and into five-dimensional reality. It gives me a sense of peace in that moment. So the beginning and the ending, and then during the day, little triggers, if you will. So these are the tools that I'm talking about, little triggers that remind me to remember. I've gotten to the point where I remember when I go out of a door or come in through a door, that's a trigger. Just pause for a second, take a deep breath as I'm going out into the world, or maybe as I'm coming back in to wherever I'm coming into, or just before I might give a talk or have a meeting. I mean, there's always the opportunity to just take a moment and pause and have an experience of peace in the moment, lowering the stress level, calming down, being more available, being more effective in work and interaction with other people, and even have one practice called sacred seeing, where you take a second and sort of click in, and then look at the other person as a soul, as a fellow soul, or as an eternal being. Look at their essence. Look behind the facade to who they really are, and the oneness that you have with them. Now, this isn't something that you need to express. It's just you taking responsibility to be in the moment with that person. The phrase or the word namaste that's used in Hinduism. It means the higher consciousness in me acknowledges the higher consciousness in you. Well, if every time that we had an interaction with somebody, we if only in our own mind said, namaste, I acknowledge your higher consciousness with my higher consciousness, that interaction would improve. It automatically does, because on a spirit level, on a fifth dimensional level, on an invisible level, soul contact is being made. So those are some ways that people can undertake simple, direct, and effective use of tools that will allow them to be aware of their higher self and be aware of their higher self out there in the world.
And like you said, there are some triggers that we can set for ourselves, that reminders that we can take that breath and be present during the day. If you like, you can do it a few times a day, just take a pause. You don't need to set 30 minutes aside to do that meditation. All you need is a few minutes. That's and right. Every one of us can find that time. The only thing we have to be aware and always have that reminders for ourselves set up in place and act on them. Right. When the time comes, we have to do it and see for ourselves how we feel. Yes. And it will bring us in a better state of mind and better connection with others as well, and we will be more effective at work. And it's kind of like a ripple effect that we are producing, I would say. And also I feel like meditation should be integrated in everybody's lives, because it's like a path for you to find that peaceful state and get in contact with your higher consciousness. And also it will provide you more of an insight for your own I would say growth and development and what you should do next, because again, we cannot possibly we can maybe find the way, but it would be a struggle for us, if we just do it on ourselves. But we have to be aware that it's not just like three-dimensional reality, but there's something more than that, and it's available to us. And why don't we use what's available is for our own benefit and for the better good of all of us. So we should just find a way and really make time for it as a priority, because right now people don't prioritize their mental and physical health, and they more lost into pleasing others, or just kind of like doing automatic actions every day. They don't know why they're doing them.
Striving.
And struggling. And we don't have to live that way. And we need to really take time and prioritize our own health, because if we start doing that inner work, that's the best investment that we can do, because that will again ripple out into everything else in our lives.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
I do. In fact, what I would say is that, and this is sometimes a hard saying or understanding for people to grab onto. I think we all, at least to some degree, create our own reality. And we create our own reality by the quality of our thoughts and our feelings and our vibrational frequency. In the world of manifestation conversation, like attracts like. That's the law of attraction. Well, if you're operating at a higher vibrational level, and this is what you're talking about, taking personal responsibility to learn to operate at a higher level, at a higher vibrational level, what will happen is we will attract better people, things, circumstances into our lives. And that's how we create a better life for ourselves, is that we learn how to go within. We learn how to raise our vibratory rate. I think the most direct path to that is meditation, because you get a chance to be quiet and you get a chance to have soul contact and so forth. And that will increase your vibratory rate. And that will then result in, over time, because this takes a while, to develop an ongoing practice, to remember on an ongoing conscious basis, consciously what you're about on a daily basis, as you said, making priority for it. But once you begin to do that, and once you begin to see the benefit of it, because there's lots and lots of benefits. That's my first book, The Amazing Benefits of Meditation. There are lots and lots of benefits to meditation, not the least of which is attracting to yourself better people, places, circumstances, better life, a better life. So that's the value of the investment, is that it will come back to you manyfold over, if what you do is take some time to do that. So it's a matter of I think each person taking responsibility to say, okay, this is what is being said here today. Sounds like something I might be interested in. It sounds like something I should explore. It sounds like something that I should or could, maybe not should, but could use as tools to improve my life. The interesting thing is that if humanity doesn't begin to evolve out of just being three-dimensional creatures into their five-dimensional selves, we're going to be in big trouble, because there's a locomotive coming down the track, not just climate change, but all this fighting that people are doing, and all this, it's amping up. It's getting worse, not better, out there. If we don't begin to grow up, if we don't begin to wake up, if we don't begin to see the oneness of humanity as opposed to the divisions of humanity, if we don't begin to grapple more deeply with climate change, for example, this next 50 years is going to be a very tough time. And I feel for my kids and grandchildren if people don't begin to wake up. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's important to wake up, and why it's important for humanity to get to a point of evolving as we have, since the caves, into into fifth dimensional reality.
Definitely. And with, like you mentioned, the vision that we have nowadays, and it's coming from different channels, social media, TV, we hear it all over around us. And we see how people are divided so much to the point where they hate each other, they start wars and so on. Right. And they don't see that oneness in all of us. And we need to cultivate those type of thoughts, emotion, and practices that would bring us to that new understanding and awareness of who we are. And who we are, it's not just what we see in the mirror. Who we are, it's not what we do, what we have. It's more than that. Yes. But we need to come to that understanding and see the, that we are coming from the same source, right?
Sure.
And with that understanding, everything will take care of itself. The solution will come. But again, taking that responsibility, because everything starts with you. You're not responsible for another person, but you're responsible for yourself and how you carry yourself in the world, how you interact with others. And with that in mind, this is how we can start change, you know, and it has to it has to be delivered as a message of importance, like you mentioned, climate change and a lot of circumstances, and I would say the outcome of us not being that mindful, we see right now in the world, and we are the ones who can change it. But with us not being aware or not waking up, it's just, again, like it's making things worse, and we don't know what's going to happen in 50 years from today. It
Yes.
could be a real crisis, but we don't see it right now. People
Right.
are lost in that illusion that they live in, right? That reality that they created, but they don't know what's next, right? They don't see what could happen. And another thing, like they have to take responsibility for their action and see how it affects other people, how it affects the earth they live in, and so on. So we as a society need to wake up together and
Yes.
kind of like unite in a having the same purpose in mind and creating the best place to live in.
Right. Again, for all of us. And as you were saying earlier, it's each person has to take responsibility for that for themselves.
Mhm.
Really, that's the only thing that you have control over.
Yeah.
It's the only thing, in a way, that you know truly is that you exist. There are a lot of things that we don't know. The one thing that we do know is that we exist, and that we have the ability, by doing some personal work, to get to the place where we can at least have some impact on our own world. We may not be able to impact the entire planet, although I think many things that we do from a higher perspective have an impact in a way that we can't see. But doing that individually for ourselves, that's where we can. That's where you have to begin. And our master teachers all have said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not out there. You don't have to go to an ashram. You don't have to go to India. You don't have to, go to some special teacher. It's right here. It's within. It's available, but it has to be personally explored and grown, and and five-dimensional reality, soul contact needs to occur. And with that, no matter what's happening around you, you can create a life for yourself that works.
Right. Yeah, I think also knowing that it exists will give us a different perspective, because people only sure of what they see, right?
Yes.
You need to see evidence, and otherwise they would be skeptical of what else is there.
Right.
But they need to experience for themselves this type of contact, or this place where they could see something beyond of what they see, right? And
Yeah.
that's where they can tap into a different way of living, and really it could give them an understanding of, there is something more that I know, and there is something more for me to explore and work on myself to kind of develop myself in the to be a better version of who I am right now,
Yes.
and it's also my own personal journey. Like you said, we here, taking our path towards development, our soul, because our soul is eternal. It doesn't die, right? Even though we know our, the day that we're born and we're going to die at a certain day, but it doesn't mean we die as a soul, right? So
Right.
basically, we have responsibility of developing ourselves, and that's our purpose. Like, this is what we should focus on, right?
I
And
think that's the reason that
even
we come.
just focusing on that will
Yes.
bring benefits not only to ourselves, but again to others as well as a result of it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why fifth dimensional beings come to planet Earth, to be in three-dimensional reality in order to learn and to grow. It's like difficult things can be a challenge, but the benefit is growth and evolution. And so we agree to forget who we are, and nobody tells us anything about fifth dimensional reality. We have to individually discover that for ourselves. But the benefit ultimately is growth and personal development for eternity. I think we're all sparks of God, of the all, divine intelligence, and that when we take our last breath here, we're going to take our next breath in fifth dimensional reality. We're going to go off to another adventure, whatever that happens to be, perhaps coming back, perhaps not. But that it's an eternal journey. It's an eternal development, and that's part of the benefit is growing and evolving and being more of who we already are.
That's the truth, and we need to again prioritize our mental, physical health, and look deeper into who we truly are and get in contact of that other side of us, of other companion that's always available to us.
Yes.
And we're gonna see the benefits for ourselves, but each one of us has to go through this and experience that, because we learn through experience, not
Correct.
just talking about, listening to others, but we have to do it. And again, we have to trust that there is something that I don't know, and there is a way for me to discover it, but I need
Yes.
to try and see for myself.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And if for those who would like to connect with you, how they can find you?
Yes. Well, the first thing I'd like to do is offer everybody a copy of my mindfulness book. And that's available at my website, which is highcmeditation.com. HI capital C meditation.com. We'll put it in the show notes where people can go and get a copy of that. And then the books are available at Amazon Books. So people can go there, and people can go to my website. I do a bit of coaching with people as well who are interested in that, so they can let me know that they're interested in that. But take a step. Take a step. Take the next step. Wherever you are in your development, wherever you are on the path, take the next step and the next step and the next step. And perhaps some of the tools that I have to offer will be helpful.
Yes. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Indeed.
I hope you enjoy your day.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I hope you enjoy your day. And I wish you a namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.